the reason why we are discussing about REST and its key concepts is in WebLogic, there is a feature, yeah, feature called WebLogic REST Management API. So using this API, REST API management, you can manage, you can monitor WebLogic server resources like domains, servers, applications, data sources, clusters. So without logging into admin console, you can access the status, you can monitor the status of these all things via RESTful HTTP endpoints. So what are the endpoints? The URL is an endpoint, right? So WebLogic REST Management API. WebLogic REST API provides HTTP-based access to WebLogic servers, runtime, and configuration management resources. Why is it useful? To monitor JVM, data sources, threads, etc. So the JVM, mostly like you can call performance metrics and managing servers and applications. Yes, you can monitor these WebLogic resources and manage. Integration with automation tools. So these are, configuration management tools. You can use the endpoints from external tools and scripts to monitor and manage the WebLogic resources. If you're working in automation pipeline or CI/CD and using tools like Postman or curl or any HTTP client. So you can also use Postman. So what is Postman? It is a API tool. You can use Postman to apply load on your WebLogic servers. So you can use these tools. I mean, the endpoints, you can put it in Postman and you can get the data. Get the data. What data? About these WebLogic resources, right? So that is the use of WebLogic REST Management API. So it is an inbuilt feature starting from 12.2.1.4. This feature is inbuilt and by default it is enabled. You don't have to enable it manually. It is by default enabled. So let us see how we can enable if you want to. Yeah, here. So the REST API runs on admin server by default on admin server ports, HTTP and HTTPS. So you can use WebLogic 12.2.1 plus or 14.x. So it is enabled by default from 12.2.1.x. No special steps needed. So if you are using 1.3, you need to install Dispatch to enable REST API support explicitly. And yes, you need to have, as we discussed about in the last few sessions about the users and groups, the user you log in must belong to any of these users depending on what you want to do. Suppose a developer is uh, using the WebLogic REST Management API to manage some resources. You can, let us say, to deploy something, you can use deployer role and monitor the server status or application or cluster or data source statuses. So based on the role, it works, role-based access control. So how it works behind the scenes. So usually when we send an HTTP request, get, post, delete, or put to, this is a um, main, what we call base URL. Yeah, API root path. So this is a root, just like context root. Okay. When we send request, WebLogic translates this into an mbin operation under the hood. So inside in the backend, what WebLogic does, it will translate this root API context into mbin. So what is mbin? We have discussed message beans that carry information and communicates with other components inside the WebLogic, right? So JMX, Java Messaging Extensions, it uses IIOP protocol, and these are the message beans that carry information. So whenever you trigger management slash WebLogic slash latest, or there are other, you know, other root APIs, sometimes that will work and sometimes it may not. Tenant monitoring, then it will be translated into mbin operation in the backend. So the response, once it is connected to the respective mbin, it is processed and the response is returned in JSON format. Okay, so we will see how the JSON format looks, and you can parse and use it in the scripts. You can, and also in the dashboards, monitoring dashboards and automation tools like Jenkins or, Agro CD or something. So dashboards, you can integrate Prometheus or Grafana, Kibana, Splunk, or something, a New Relic. So there are many monitoring tools. And also you can use it in the script. What the response you get in the JSON format. So mostly this WebLogic management API is used, highly used in DevOps and automation environment, right? So yeah, here, automation and integration. You can use Ansible or Terraform to trigger REST endpoints. So what is Ansible and Terraform? These are the configuration management tools that is used to design your infrastructure. So you will write the Ansible playbook file and it will create you the infrastructure. Terraform, it's the same. Terraform, it is used to create your WebLogic resources. I mean, you can write the script in Terraform, you can define it to create the infrastructure. So in order to make this work, you need to integrate Ansible or Terraform with WebLogic REST API management using the admin server's endpoint. So you can monitor metrics. What metrics? The system resources, the performance metrics of server JVMs using Prometheus, which is a monitoring tool, or custom scripts. You can also integrate Grafana for monitoring, Postman for API access or you know testing, the load testing, or you can integrate with Jenkins for CI/CD, continuous integration, and continuous deployments. So this is automation and integration. So these are the multiple uses you can utilize that are inbuilt with WebLogic server. And you can also, yes, from starting from the latest versions, which is 14.1.1, it is N-1, N minus 1. So what is N-1? Because the latest is 14.1.2. So this is N. So N-1. Starting from 14.1.1, this REST API, WebLogic's management REST API, uses basic authentication or JWT tokens. So this is for authentication. These are the two different types of authentications used uh, when you want to access the resources using REST APIs.